You think dealing with criticism is all about manning up and making up a comeback to the bully's reply that's going to leave them in tears? Well, think again. There's way more to criticism that meets the eye, and this video is going to dive into all of it as quickly as possible. And stick around until the end, because there's something at the end that I'm dropping that might just change the way you see criticism as a whole. I want to start you right off with a whole paradigm shift. The goal of dealing with criticism isn't to come up with a reply to the bully's hurtful comment that's going to reassert yourself. It's to make your mindset so that the bully's comment isn't hurtful at all. That way, it doesn't matter what they say, because if you don't believe it, then it doesn't matter what your response is. And it makes it way easier in dealing with comments because you don't actually get hurt by what they said, so anything that you say works because you don't really care what they say. This is like a golden point to get to. It's deep in our instincts to want to have criticism, because in the past we used to be in hunting gathering groups, and criticism meant a chance of being kicked out of the group. So if you received criticism, it means you had to make sure that you conform to the way other people thought you should be so that they didn't ostracize you. But in today's world, there's so many different groups that you have a chance of getting into. If you're ostracized from a group for being yourself, it means that that wasn't the group for you, and you need to go looking for a better group anyway. In essence, what I'm trying to say here is the response to criticism is built from the inside out. You want to have your mental fortitude set up so that whatever they say to you, it doesn't matter. So how do you get this golden kind of self-confidence that I'm talking about? Because I've just set you some lofty goals that sounds unachievable. Well, it's to kind of set goals and go and achieve them, right? That's how you achieve self-respect. That's the only way to achieve self-respect. And any other self-respect guides are just kind of a variation on this one overarching topic. So, what kind of goals? Well, you want to start out with smaller goals and build up to bigger goals, because when you start out, you're not going to want to go after these goals. You're not going to be used to driving towards them, and the feeling when you miss a goal, when you've set a deadline and it rolls right past and you're not even close to achieving the goal, is just going to hurt your self-respect way more than if you set yourself a small goal that you could actually achieve and build up to the bigger goals over time. So start with small goals that you know you can get, and then make it progressively more and more difficult each day until you're getting to goals that you really feel proud of for achieving and that are pushing you to your edge. Alright, that's section 1. So section 2. When someone criticizes you, here's exactly what should be going on in your head. So, you need to ask yourself these questions. Do you really believe what they said? Is it true? Or are they just saying it to make themselves feel better? Because if that's the case, if they're just saying it to make themselves feel better, it may sound cheesy, but you need to be your own biggest fan. You need to cheer yourself on, because the truth is, if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. Almost all the time. Because you're the only one that's with yourself for 100% of the time. You're the only one that can refute these comments. They're the first line of defense, okay? So, just go over times in your head when proving that what they said is obviously not true. They call you gay, and you're a pretty masculine guy, and you lift, and whenever someone is getting emotional, you're always just the one that's chilling there. It's kind of stoic. If it starts raining, you don't care. You're just as happy as the day that it's sunny. Then, you don't care what they say. It's not true. However, the vast majority of times, what they say is going to have some grain of truth, and that's why it's going to be so hurtful to you, and that's why it's going to get under your skin. So if this is the case, then I like to go back to something Jocko Williams said that was absolutely amazing and completely stuck with me. So here it is. So if someone says something that's kind of true and insults you, think to yourself, I accept this, but I don't accept this. Alright, so what the hell does that mean? So basically it means you want to accept that what they said is true, but don't accept that that's the way it has to be. So again, using the gay example, because it's probably one of the most common insults. if someone calls you gay and like you're actually kind of feminine, you know that you probably could be more masculine, and maybe sometimes you're easily off put by emotions, and someone might catch you like crying in a bathroom or something, right? So maybe you are kind of feminine. So accept that what they said is kind of true, but don't accept that that's the way it has to be. If you want to be more masculine, if you want to be more free, then get after it. Start trying to be more stoic. Start trying to be less involved in their emotional whirlpools. Meditate, journal, do all these things, go after goals, and then next time someone tells you that you're gay, you're going to be like, no, the hell I'm not. I'm fucking masculine. So that's section 2. Section 3, where does this fragility come from? This is a topic that absolutely changed my mind when I heard it. Kind of made me go bonkers because it gave me a whole explanation for where all of this non-acceptance and this aversion to criticism from others is coming from. And the answer is probably your parents. So in the first case, in your mother's case, a lot of kids nowadays are absolute mommy's boys. Like, they never grew up past needing their mother's validation, and so everything they do is aimed at pleasing their mother. I was this way myself. Me and my mom were extremely close. My parents were divorced, and I grew way closer to my mom than I grew to my dad, even though the time was split nearly evenly. So over time, I grew to need her validation, and I grew to start changing my actions to kind of receive that validation more. And a lot of kids do that. Like, over time, you get so inauthentic because what you're doing isn't even for your own enjoyment. It's for her pleasure. And that's okay to a certain extent, but if you're just doing it to receive the validation instead of like free kindness that has no contingencies and no expectations on the other side, then that's wrong. You really should try to avoid that, because in that case, it's going to stick around and you will be seeking validation for the rest of your life. Right. On the father's side, right, fathers are often very harsh and give very harsh criticism, sometimes even to the point of being verbally abusive. So this criticism that you receive is often internalized because you're a kid, and if your dad tells you you're a loser, then what are you going to do? You're going to believe him because he's your dad, and you're going to believe that you're a loser. And that's going to go deep into your subconscious, and for the rest of your life you might believe you're a loser because your dad told you you were. And I can tell you right now, that's just not true. If you're watching these videos, you're not a loser, no. But for, like, the mental baggage that you have may be carried from like 20 plus years ago, 10 years ago, all the way from when you were a child, and you might not even realize it. And it can cause low self-esteem, it can cause sensitivity, and eventually it can even cause avoidant personality disorder, which is when you're so sensitive that you start avoiding people, right? So that's the 2 places where your aversion to criticism can come from. This was mind-boggling for me when I learned it, and it absolutely changed my perception, and I hope it does the same for you. Alright, that's section 3. Now, section 4. Since you kind of understand the theory, the internal stuff, what to do on the inside, now I'm going to tell you the external stuff because you've earned it. So, here it is. There's 3 main responses that you can have when someone gives you a certain criticism or a little bout of making fun or teasing. There's 3 responses that are the best. The third one is probably the best out of all of them, but I want to teach you all 3 so that you have an arsenal of responses. So number 1, you could just laugh along. However, you have to be careful with this one because it's very easy to hear what they said and then just be laughing along to get their validation. Because what may be going on in your head is, wow, that was actually pretty hurtful, but I'm just going to laugh along so that they like me more because they can show that I don't really care what they say, and I can be a cool guy and not really mess up the vibe. That is probably the worst reaction to criticism possible. It's okay to laugh along, but you want to do it from a place of deep mental trust and self-respect, like we talked about earlier. If you do it from a place authenticity and just finding like genuine humor in the moment of humoring what they said because you know what's wrong, then you're good on this one. Number 2 is to call them out. Like, if they say something rude to you, like if they insult you right in front of your face, then you can just say, what do you mean by that? Like, say you're hanging out with your friends and they're trying to be funny and they're like, yeah, most of us are fine, but I mean, there's always been tricks there. Well, where is that coming from, you know? So you can say, what do you mean by that? They're going to be forced to explain themselves, and in that case, if they don't explain themselves, then you can call them out for being a jerk. If they do explain themselves, then you realize they probably backpedaled and said they were sorry. Works most of the time. However, this third one works almost all the time, and it's probably the best out of all of them. And it's called stonewalling. When someone gives you an insult, all you have to do is go flat-faced, say nothing, open your chest, breathe through your diaphragm, stare them dead in the eyes. A lot of the times when people try and do this, they'll like close up, they'll kind of breathe through their chest very shallowly, and they're gonna get all wrapped up in themselves. Instead of what you actually want to do, which is showing that you just heard what they just said and don't give a single fuck about it. And that is one of the most impressive things you could do. Alright, final section, section 5. As a reward for making it this far in the guide, I want to give you another paradigm shift. And that is, criticism is a good thing. Wow. If you're getting more criticism, it probably means that you're being more polarizing. And if you're doing that out of a place of authenticity and trying to be more like your true self, that is one of the best possible signs. Because it means that there's certain people who like you and certain people who don't. Because once you start being more polarizing, the people in your friend group who are kind of like ambivalent about you are going to develop strong opinions. They're going to either really feel you, they're going to like your vibe, or they're going to start being really annoyed by you and want to be anywhere but near you. And that's good. That's a good thing. People will start approaching you in the hall almost magnetically. They'll be attracted to you and for your real self. It's going to feel amazing. And this has started happening to me at school, and I just can't even believe it. There's these people that approach me in the halls and really want to talk to me, and they don't want to talk to the fake version, they want to talk to a real me. And one of the best actual strategies to do this is to get more criticism. This strategy that I'm about to give you is one of the best that I've heard overall for self-improvement in general, and can completely fast-track your path to improvement. Right? So here it is. It's simply, you want to gather a group of friends who are also interested in self-improvement, and you want to meet with them about once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks if you don't have enough time. And what you want to do is you're going to tell the group something tough that you've been dealing with, and one of them is going to give you some kind of challenge, something that helps you slip out of mediocrity and makes you make a decision one way or another. Right? So what does that look like? So for example, if you were having a hard time breaking up with your girlfriend and it had been really weighing on you, your friend might say something like, I've been noticing that over time you've been indecisive for way too long, and I can tell it's distracting you from your life. If you're gonna break up with her, do it by the end of tomorrow. And if you don't, accept that you really do love her and that you do want to be with her. Now finally, you want to choose men for the circle who are challenging themselves constantly, because if they're not, then how are they going to help you out of mediocrity if they're stuck in it themselves? So if you use all of these tactics, you're gonna become insult proof. Don't let this video fall into the depths of your history. Rewatch it, take notes, make sure to really pay attention to all the little details, because everything I've presented in here was for a reason. And if you like the video, please like it, because it really does help the algorithm. And you're gonna want to subscribe if you liked it too, because I put out daily videos and I think you'll like my other content. Right? So that said, thank you for watching. This is Zentech. Stay Zen.